Hi there, you're live watching Good for the Game TV. It's our rugby betting show, The Handicap. It's the first time we're talking only about rugby betting, but this is going to become a regular feature going forward. 9 o'clock on a Thursday evening, you've put the kids to bed. Maybe you've made the wife a cup of tea. It's time to start studying up for the weekend's betting. And we'll be assembling panels that can help you sift out some value amongst all the handicaps out there in the various rugby leagues around the world. Our focus this week, of course, Rugby Championships. The Boks have got a massive game over in Australia. There's also Currie Cup action. I don't know how much time we're going to get to talk about the European action. We'll certainly have a look at the Kings and Cheetahs games in the Pro 14. And yeah, there's plenty of other French and English rugby as well. And joining me to talk about it, I'm going to start off down in Durban. He says it's raining there, and those punting on the Sharks v Pumas game tomorrow night should take note of that. It's Gavin Cohen, OracleRugby.com. No doubt he's going to have an opinion or two tonight. Oracle, welcome to the show.
How's it, Brent? Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, look, raining, as I just said to you a moment before we went live, is a bit of a stretch. It's been drizzling since 4 o'clock. I think we've probably got about 2 millimeters in the last 5 or 6 hours, but it's certainly wet and it hasn't stopped. It doesn't look like it's going to stop tomorrow. So yeah, the game's tomorrow night. Still, what's it, 20 hours from now or 22 hours from now? I don't think it's going to be a big factor. There's not big rain predicted, but again, as I've mentioned many times, I'm not a weatherman.
No, you're not. And Hein de Monte, you look like you're fairly warmly dressed there in Cape Town. What's the weather like there?
Piss cold, piss cold. That's how it is. No, it's been very cold the last few days, and it's going to be very cold tomorrow with lots of rain, they say. But there's no rugby in George that matters, so that's not going to bother the punters much.
So you down in George, and old Chris Sturdy from Good for the Game sits in Neisner. The two of you have got to hook up for a beer sometime. Have you never met?
Definitely. No, we've never met. I've only actually met Sean. That's the only one I've met of Good for the Game or anywhere connected to them.
Right. Well, I can tell the only problem with hooking up the beer for Chris is he doesn't know what one beer is. So it's going to have to be for a few more than that. Just to remind you that Hein de Monte, he posts on the Good for the Game forum as couch critic, quite outspoken on Twitter as well. And certainly a man who loves his rugby. But guys, let's get straight into the betting side of things. We've got 2 big Rugby Championship games coming up this weekend. And Oracle, let me start with you. Saturday morning's game, we've got the handicap set. Argentina plus 27.5 in Nelson, New Zealand. That means the home team, of course, minus 27.5. What did you go for in your video preview?
Yeah, Brent, I think certainly 27 is way too much. In fact, I targeted a 23.5 play and a little bit bigger. I think I got 13 or 14 at 10. The reason why I picked 23 specifically is the last, since 2011, All Blacks have only beaten this handicap once. I think they won by 35. I think it was 2 years ago. Other than that, all the other scores have been below 23 or 23 and below. I like the fact that Mario Ledesma are headed over to New Zealand this year, beat the Chiefs away and beat the Blues away. And as I said as well to you just before we went live, for me, this Argentinian team has got nothing to lose here. You know, they go over there and they get beaten by 20 or they get beaten by 40. It doesn't matter to them. So, you know, when South Africa goes over there or Australia goes over there and loses, everyone's talking about it. Everyone's unhappy. Everyone expected South Africa to do better or the Australians to do better. Whereas, you know, nobody in Argentina is going to moan if they lose this game. They just don't care. It's a scalp they haven't got before. And I honestly believe they can get very close here. They've got close before, and you know, from another perspective or another punt, I'd certainly be definitely looking at Argentina to win at halftime, possibly taking Argentina at halftime onto New Zealand full time. That's definitely a good bet. They're definitely going to start off strong. They're not scared. They want to win this game. They've never beaten New Zealand before. They're going to have a go here. And honestly, this handicap of 27 is an absolute best bet of the month, if not the quarter, and possibly even the year. I love it. Go all in.
He loves his Pumas, this man. Whether they're Pumas from Nelspruit, he probably doesn't love those quite as much as he did last week, Han? But he certainly loves these Pumas. And, you know, it's that sort of outspoken confidence of Gavin, which is why I'm so confident of beating him in the GG Gaming Master Punter competition. But, Han, I know you also fancy Argentina might make a fast start.
Yes, I do, Brent. I don't know about all in there. I'm not quite as confident on that. You know, it's different. The All Blacks have made a few changes, and at the back, Mo'unga and TJ are starting, which is going to be interesting. They're going to be full of running. But I think more specifically a few changes in the pack. They haven't strengthened the pack. You know, there are a few guys getting a chance there. So I actually think they might have a bit of a tussle with the Argentines up front. So especially in the first half, it might take them some time to get used to the way the Argentinians play up front. So I think definitely there they'll involve them in a scuffle. But again, I'm always wary of the All Blacks in the second half. You know, Damian McKenzie coming up there, last 20 minutes. You know, they can score 3 tries in 20 minutes and you might look odds on to make it on the handicap, and then 3 tries it's going to break any handicap. So I'm on halftime 13.5 on the Argentines.
Well, I see that's what Chris Sturdy went for on the preview on Good for the Game. So if you want to have a look at that one, you can log on to the Good for the Game site. I'm with you there. I do like Argentina on the halftime handicap, although I'm just generally not a halftime punter. I haven't had a lot of success with halftime plays. But I'm also I'm not as bullish as Gavin. I don't see Argentina winning this, but I am quite firm on them in the cap. The closer we're getting to kickoff, the more excited I am about this Argentina cap. You know, you look at their record in New Zealand, it's not as bad actually as some of the other teams. They've generally taken solid defeats, but I think only once in the last 4 with this handicap have been beaten by the home team. So sort of leaning in that direction as well. Gavin, I know nothing else really will appeal to you in this one, but if you had to have a look at some of the other markets, anything you think punters might be interested in?
Well, I can tell you, GG Gaming got 18-1 about the board here. I mean, I've got to tell you, I can't remember when I got 18-1 about Argentina winning a test match. And yes, I know that Henrik said to me he thinks it's crazy I'm chucking half a unit at that, but at 18-1, I'm certainly interested. I mean, imagine sitting there. I know Han's seen it before, and you've seen it before. They've been leading with 15 minutes to go, and as Han said, you know, they can score 3 tries in 20 minutes. I'd like to correct him and say they can score three tries in 7 minutes. But you know, if I've got a small punt on 18-1 and I'm in it with 12 minutes to go, you know, if you want to take in running, you can probably get the All Blacks at 1-5 and cover it if you want to. You're not going to be taking 1-18. Yeah, look, I do like the halftime handicap as well, but for me, the halftime punt is actually a runner. If you look at the stats, Argentina have beaten New Zealand at halftime a few times, not just once. They've certainly achieved this a few times. And, you know, it might be a target of theirs to say, listen, let's get up at halftime. Let's get in the sheds. Let's talk about what we can do to hold on. You know, 80 minutes is a long way for them. 40 minutes isn't. And that's an achievement on its own. To win that first half, I promise you, they go into the hut and they're high-fiving and they're fist-pumping. That's an achievement. So, yeah, from a try bet perspective, I don't know. Even they're both teams getting the same tries is something to look at, because that could happen. Yeah, I don't know. Just the halftime, full-time to me is probably the way to go. I haven't seen a price yet. That's sort of a bet I normally take roundabout game time. I don't get involved very early because I often find that they push the betting out on those, and I wait for the money to come and see if I get a bit of value on the side against where the money's gone. So, yeah, I don't really look at too many other things. Points side, it's a difficult one. But when I was looking on the internet today, a lot of people are thinking it's going to be sort of 30 all, or not 30 all, but 35, 29, somewhere around about the 60-point line. I don't know. I can't see this. I can't see the points in this particular game going up by more than sort of 55. And I've got to believe that Argentina scored 22 in their last 2 games there. They've scored more than 12 4 times out of the last 6. So I don't know what Argentina's points quote is, but if you're getting anything sort of between 10 and 14, a buy or overs, as some guys call it, is certainly something that you can look at.
I must say, Hein, one of the other things I'd like to look at is the websites that the Oracle frequents, because he sees a lot of people predicting sort of a New Zealand 6-point win, 35-29. I haven't been on those websites. How about you?
Those are forums.
No, those must be some weird Buenos Aires forums that he's visiting there. I don't know what he's got cooking there.
Let me just clarify that. That's not punters. That's the public. The public seem to be thinking it's going to be quite high scoring. In fact, yeah. Sorry, I can't remember where I heard it, but I certainly read it.
Yeah, I think, yeah, just looking at some of the comments there, Henrik and Sean are definitely going against some of the Oracle's comments this weekend. Hein, just before we finish off on this game, anything from your side?
No, I haven't got something in particular. I think I'll have a look in running, maybe back the All Blacks to pull away in the last 30, but I don't think you're going to get great odds. You know, I think people are going to expect that, so they're going to keep the All Blacks on a tight leash there. So I don't think I'm going to be able to get onto much there, but I'll have a look at TJ Paranara maybe as an anytime try scorer. I think he'll be chomping at the bit to really have a good go. And then obviously I always keep old Damian McKenzie on hand for the last try.
Well, we seem to all be united as far as the handicap and probably the halftime handicap goes, and we do actually like the Pumas. I do agree with Hein that backing against New Zealand can be nerve-wracking. Sean did mention on the site they tend to score before halftime, and I can tell you they tend to score just after halftime as well. So you have to watch out for that one. But the big game this weekend, I think for most of us taking place.
Yeah, Chris has just said this. Argentina, New Zealand, halftime, full time's 40-1. You've got
gaming.
I mean, that's even better than the 18-1. That's a fantastic price. I'll be getting on that.
Right. Well, Kevin, we'll give you a few seconds to log on and get that bet on. In fact, I'd recommend you stick your entire competition stake on that. You'll be out of it. No one will catch you. There's no doubt about that. So Oracle's going to quickly log on and do that. And we're going to talk about the game at the Suncorp Stadium. That's in Brisbane. There could be some rain about. We were having a look. In fact, it looks like there could be quite a lot of rain about. The handicap here, -5.5 points in favour of the home team, Australia. And just before this show, Hein, we had Gary Lenton from GG Gaming on. He's saying all the money for the home team. They, by the way, are offering those who watch the GG Gaming show, even money, the -5.5. You can watch the show to find out how to get that. And you get your money back at 5 as well. So that's a great deal. Are you on the minus here, or are you looking for something else?
Brent, Gavin has been stalking the forums on the Argentinian game, but I've been watching this one because I've been very keen to hear about Israel Folau's availability. I know he's not a big believer in individuals, but to me, Pocock and Folau is the team for the Aussies. And I know Pocock was struggling with a neck injury, and Folau was also doubtful. So I'm still actually holding fire on a big punt. I'll have a small interest, and I must say at that evens offer, the 5.5 will probably be the way to go, the minus the Aussies. But before having a big go, I'd like to see the weather, because I think the weather will get us back into the contest there. You know, we've got the better pack. I still believe, even with the changes, even with everyone ruling out old Bongi and saying March should have started, I don't think it's a bad call, and it's a all-stormer front row, so I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Marx has been pretty poor at line-out time, so I don't think it's going to be too bad. So yes, I think this is actually one for me to hold fire until just before the game, see some weather conditions, and really make sure that Folau runs onto the pitch, because, as I said, it makes a huge difference to me whether he's playing or not.
I agree with you. It makes a big difference. Just to mention, Chris did point out that he made a mistake there. He was actually quoting the New Zealand to lead at halftime and Argentina to win the game at 40-1. But the Argentina-New Zealand is 9-1, Gavin. Perhaps not quite as exciting, but still a decent play.
It is a decent play. I thought it would be around about 10. So yeah, so I'm not surprised. I'll wait till game time. Sometimes those go out because the guys go for other stuff and they push it out. Yeah, the game time you get a lot of value. Bookmakers try and shift their prices out, especially against the stuff they've laid, and just to try and get a little bit of money back. And that's often where I poach.
Right, we're looking at the Box game in Australia. I must say I am in the home team camp. I'm not convinced about all the changes the Box have made. I see Sean not very bullish about Yankees in the wet. I do tend to agree with him there. And I'm looking at Australia here, and I'm looking for them to win this game. I don't say they're going to run away with it, but I'm quite keen on the -5.5 handicap. And with the even money option and the money back at 5 points there with GG Gaming, that's the way I'll be leaning this weekend. And yeah, possibly... Hein, just if I do look at the benches, you know, I'd probably give the Bok bench maybe an edge, and so maybe handicap backers like myself are going to have to hope that Australia start fast and hang on.
Yes, you know, I've heard a lot of guys saying half-time, full-time, or backing Aussie first half, or actually the second half handicap. That's the thing you got to keep in mind, is I think the Box might come out strong in the second half. I actually think that was a big call for Rassie, is he felt that the guys started slowly, so he went for a reverse psychology there and start with the bench and then bring the starters back on, and hopefully things will work better. And I think someone like the Beast and Marks will be good from the bench, so that's not too bad. But the backs, you know, Pollard not on form at the moment, not such a great impact. Papier, zero experience, and Colby, if it's going to be wet, he's not going to be much of a factor. So it's not like we're going to run them ragged with our back line coming on from the bench. So it's much of a muchness. To me, I'll take the Aussies to win both halves at 17-10. I'm having a little nibble at that. And then, as I said, I'll probably get more involved in Australia, or actually going negative on the Box, you know, saying less Springbok tries or less Springbok points. That's probably where I'm going to be focusing, rather than really that's. I think Gavin said before we started chatting, I'm not overly confident in the Aussies, but I'm just pretty disappointed in the Box at the moment. So I'm not expecting much from them.
Right, so I'm not expecting much from the box there. Oracle, any closing thoughts before we move on to Currie Cup? I see you having some banter with the boys there.
Yeah, Brent, listen, I think, yes, I've punted South Africa. Yeah, there's a couple of reasons for that. I'm not pro South Africa in this game, not by a long shot. It's a small play for me. I'm more anti-Australia or against Australia here than I am pro South Africa. I've just got to believe that their performances against New Zealand were far worse than South Africa's performance against Argentina. I expected Argentina to play well. I think they did play very well. I don't think South Africa played badly in Argentina. I just didn't think they had the chance to play well. Argentina was so good at home, and in Durban, South Africa didn't beat that handicap. And quite frankly, that's because of Pollard. Even if you gave him 80% of the kicks he got, they win by more than 20. They beat the handicap comfortably. And are we all punting Australia this weekend if South Africa had won that game by 25 and maybe beaten Argentina by a point or two or lost by 2 or 3? I don't know if it's so much. I've got no confidence in Australia. This is honestly, at the moment, close to rubbish versus rubbish. And, I don't have a lot of confidence in South Africa. I do have a little bit of confidence in Rassie making a decision, saying, hang on, Pollard, you haven't played that well. Let's give Elton a chance. Elton's going to say, you know what? I will take this chance. I like Ches and Colby. I think he's got nothing to lose. He's been playing in France for a while. He's a great player. And Han just said he's not going to be too good in the wet. I've got to believe anyone that's played 3 months in Cape Town knows how to play in the wet, because that place is just horrific in winter. But anyway, yeah, look, the better pack, or the better bench, should I say, South Africa definitely. I think if Australia aren't winning this game at halftime by 10 points, I say they lose the match. I think South Africa will definitely win that second half. I'd be very scared to take Australia to win both halves. It's a very tricky bet. I know 17-10 does sound big, but I'm certainly, if it's just dangerous. I don't know. I don't like South Africa, but I certainly don't like Australia. I don't like South Africa better than I don't like Australia, if that makes any sense.
Right. Well, if that does make sense to you, then you obviously haven't started drinking yet tonight, all those people out there watching. But maybe you should have a couple. Just interesting to see the lads talking about the total points. I know a Magic Man posting there 48.5 points he'd be going unders. I'm not sure if that's a line that he's actually seen. I haven't seen any yet, or if he's assuming it'll be about that range. But I'd also probably be leaning unders in. And Hendrik making the comment about the ref, Glenn Jackson. He's not a Glenn Jackson fan. Reckons he's whistle happy. And to be honest, I hadn't noticed it much until the other day he pointed it out on the forum. And I also started getting annoyed with Glenn Jackson. He reckons unders as well. And I suppose given the weather conditions, that's probably the way a lot of punters are going to go.
Yes, I presume that will be the guy. I got it completely wrong in that first game. I thought Rassie would be a little bit more conservative, especially with Pollard at 10. And then they came out and were very aggressive. So I don't know, maybe against Australia with Yankees there, they're going to be attacking again. But obviously the weather conditions, that's why I'm saying, like, it's all about the weather conditions for me tomorrow, and quite a number of factors and an hour before the game that's gonna sway me in each direction, in any direction. So it's just small bets at this stage, and then waiting to really have a crack or not tomorrow, on Saturday, when I really see what the conditions are going to be. Because as I said, it makes a huge difference. On the dry field, I'm giving Aussie all the edge and all the points, and I'm struggling to see anything but an Aussie win. In wet conditions, I give us a great chance, not because I think Elton is great or anything, but I think our pack is stronger. I think we're better at an arm wrestle. I mean, that's no doubt about it for me. And I actually have a feeling that Yankees might have a good game. He has one good game and 2 bad games at international level. So I think it might be his good game this week, and then he'll have a shocker against New Zealand. Well,
that's pretty much Oracle's pattern for punting as well. 1 good week and 2 bad ones. So maybe Yankees following in his footsteps. The Oracle just pulling your leg there. But just having a look at the game, we are actually going to do a build-up, probably an hour and a half before. And I know Hendrik Swat, if he's watching, I'd certainly like to have him on to get his thoughts on the total points and lines before the game, because those conditions are crucial, but also seeing the way the teams are set up. And there's quite often some value I've noticed, particularly with some of the South African bookmakers. If there is some bad weather about, you can get on the line a little bit early and perhaps shift it down a bit. But, gents, let's move on to the Currie Cup, because we've got 3 games to look forward to, starting on Friday night, Gavin, in your part of the world. And that, of course, is the Sharks up against the Pumas. I did note that this line was around 21.5, 22.5 earlier in the week. There seems to have been support for the Pumas. And the last I saw around 19.5.
I think that might just be weather punting. I can't understand how anybody could have any confidence in the Pumas. I mean, I had a massive strike on them last week. I don't even know how to spell them anymore. It was ridiculous, actually. So, yeah, a lot of people said Western Province were great. I didn't think Western Province were great. I think Western Province were average. And Pumas were just absolute rubbish. And, the Sharks were also rubbish. So, that hashtag rubbish versus rubbish that I started about a year ago is still flying around. I see Sean Bowes got it going. I got to believe that the Sharks versus Pumas is possibly also rubbish versus rubbish this week. I know that Sean Nicholas hates the Sharks because they always let him down. I just, again, going back to the coach has switched the fullback. He's taken, I forget his name now. They put that fantastic youngster on at fullback.
Yeah, Bosch is on the bench.
Yeah, Bosch is on the bench, and they put Fussy on, or Fossey, or whatever his name is. And, again, it's a youngster that needs to prove himself. The Pumas have never done well in Durban. They really haven't. I think there was one game where they did well. And the rest of the time, they do get reasonably thumped. And I say reasonably, not quite the 40s and 50s, but certainly in the 20s to 30s. And, I think if this handicap comes down to 18 or 19, I may have a bit of a strike. Sorry, 16 or 17. Right now, at just under 20, I'm not quite convinced yet. I've had a go at 25, a bit speculative, small stake at a decent price. But I may have a bigger play if it gets down to 16 or 17. I just can't see the Pumas staying within that.
Han, what do you think? I see you looking at the computer there. It looks like you're looking for a few prices for us.
No, Brent, I'm just thinking at this rate, the Lions might have to enter a A team and a B team so they can play against each other, because that's the only time it won't be rubbish against rubbish for Gavin there.
Yeah, good one.
No, listen, on this one, I think the attitude of the Sharks is just shocking against the Cheetahs. It's happened a few times when they solidly the favourite, they just don't pitch up mentally. And when the Sharks, being a Shark supporter, or previously before I got too involved with punting, now I try to remain neutral. But you get used to the fact that the Sharks, they're a very mental side. If they're not switched on and they think it's a done deal, then they're pathetic. So I think you can pretty much draw a line through that performance. The Pumas, I'd be a bit worried about the overreaction to their performance against Province. I know they didn't pitch up on the day, but I don't think they can be as bad as they were on that one. But I think the Sharks will pitch up and cover the handicap. I've got them 17.5 at Sunbet, so I think that's a pretty decent strike for me. Even if conditions are great, I think the Sharks are a much better team in those conditions. Fussy will be a little bit of a concern in wet conditions because he's playing at fullback, and I don't think he's actually more of a winger. But and the Pumas will test him with Angeres kicking. But I think 17.5 is a decent strike there. I think the Sharks will have this in hand. I think Robert Dupree would have had a good chat to the guys, and yes, I think they'll take care of business there. And then also Akker van der Merwe on the bench, which is pretty important. He'll have a good impact, and I'm actually taking him as last try scorer as well as soon as that market comes open.
It sounds like you're going to get quite involved for Friday night. And I know my mate of mine, Brendan O'Connell, Gavin knows him well as well. We used to always punt on a Friday night. And I think it was Sean Feltzman or Pro Lagota, they were the refs. It used to be in Kimberley or something, and we used to lose a fortune. And there's nothing worse than waking up on the Saturday morning and you're already chasing those bookmakers hard. So your Friday night looks like it's going to be a big one for us, gents. I'm certainly, I'm actually liking the Sharks here on the handicap. Like Gavin, I wouldn't mind waiting for 16.5. 17.5, but you say there's 17.5 at Sunbet, so I'm more than happy to take that. I've got a bit of money lying around in the Sunbet account at the moment. We'll go for that one. Let's move on to Saturday's games, and we'll start with the Griquas up against the Bulls. The Griquas plus 11.5. They were certainly disappointing in their opener against the Pumas on the road, and then they lost a high-scoring game to the Lions at Ellis Park, and now they've had a bye, and they're underdogs against the Bulls, Gavin. And I see you smiling like a man who's got an interest or a fancy in this game.
Yeah, sorry, I just want to say one more thing on that Sharks game. Is the Sharks beat the Bulls by 16. And if any bookmaker thinks that 16 is the right number to go here at home, Sharks, I think I'm starting to like this Sharks game. Watching a bit of banter, listening to you guys, I might be dipping in more after this show. Right, so let's look at Griquas. Yeah, I think the Bulls went to Bloemfontein. I called that one. Rubbish Cheetahs team. Sorry, Han. I'll keep my rubbish quotes to a minimum. I'm sorry. Yeah. I think it's, look, the handicap's probably about right. Somewhere sort of under 15 and over 10 is probably about right. I saw a bit of value in going more than 15. So any minus, any minus under 15 for me has got a bit of value. The key factor for me here is not so much how the Bulls or the cheat Griquas have played. It's Potty Himan. And I know not a lot of guys like him. I remember when he was with the Griquas, I think he was there 6 or 7 years. He did very well. He won a hell of a lot of games. In fact, Western Province used to go there and lose. The Sharks used to go there on a Friday night and lose, and that's all gone. So now he's arriving with a Bulls team that needs to win. They really need to win. I know I punted them at 7-1 to win the tournament, but geez, 10 points just seems too low, or 12 or 15 or 13 or whatever. The Bulls are capable of winning this game by 30 or 40. And I do think they will. I think they'll beat this Griquas team. The Griquas team is not the Griquas team it used to be, and they do have a bit of a weapon in Potty Human, who knows the conditions, knows the ground, knows what's going on, and it's good enough for me. Bulls minus is definitely my best Currie Cup punt of the weekend.
I also like the Bulls minus. I'm not sure yet if I rank it as a best bet. In fact, I like something quite strong in the Lions game, which we'll talk about after this. But Hein, what do you think? Bulls minus?
Yes, I've taken a bit of the Bulls minus 11.5 that I got, but I must say I saw the team sheet for the first time late this afternoon, and that backline is very very green. So I'm a bit concerned about that. Obviously, Lubbock is going to do crazy things at 10, but the rest is, I don't know. They've got a few. Nordia at outside centre, I don't really know. Jackson, I haven't really rated, but they've been scoring at will, and the only thing I really know about this game, 2 o'clock in Kimberley. I've checked the weather. There's no rain about. It's going to be a try fest. I'm going to look to get involved in some way, shape, or form there, because I can see loads of tries happening, and obviously, as Griquas showed against the Lions, they can contribute as well. So I probably won't discount them on that. So I'm going to be looking for something along those lines and get involved in some tries or something there. And then, at this stage, it is 11.5, and I'll look at Dylan Sage, actually an interesting one. Dylan Sage from the Sevens is on the bench for the Bulls. So I'll take him as last try scorer if someone has got him listed there by the time just before kickoff.
Well, I'm not sure whether the viewers, I think the viewers can only see the person who's talking. They can't necessarily see all of us in the screen, but according to my screen, the screen's either frozen or Gavin has just taken a 1.5 minute slug of his drink. I'm trusting it's not beer, and possibly the screen is frozen, but it's still showing up there that Gavin has been drinking his beer for them. But just quickly to talk to you, Henrik Swat there reckons overs. Egon seconds the ref, and I know Henrik's a big one for looking at the ref, and I tend to be as well. I think all of us overs, unders, punters is to have a look at the ref before making your play there. But Gavin, we're going to.
What is the expected quote for this game? They're saying overs. What are we talking about?
Well, look, it's going to be. I can tell you, being a Currie Cup game here, we're going to look. We're going to look. It's going to be in the mid 60s. It's going to be in the mid 60s. The quote. I can't see it being less than 64.5, 65.5, and that sounds very high. Because normally in rugby you're getting quite
Currie Cup, but yeah,
sounds high. But I must say, in some of these Currie Cup games, you get to half time and you got 43 points on the board already.
Yeah,
and you sort of. I watched one of the games last week. I can't just off the top of my head can't think which it was, but I missed. In fact, I think it was Henrik posted an overs bet on the forum. And I wanted to follow him. I think it was in the Western Province game. It was the Friday night.
Pumas, Province Pumas.
I wanted to follow him, but I just missed getting on. Like the market closed while I was trying to get on, so I thought, I'll wait for a few minutes and see. And I waited, and Province scored a try. So I thought, I'll wait a few more minutes. And eventually the quote had moved up from like wherever Henrik got it at 59.5. It was way up there. And ultimately I managed to make a winning bet on the game at half time. But with these Currie Cup games, if it starts quick, it just doesn't seem to stop. And the points just keep flowing. So, Hein, I see you nodding with me there. You'll be agreeing with that one. I mean, you really do get some high-scoring games. But, we're probably looking at about 65.5. But Oracle, I'm very keen to get your opinion on the next game because we've got a big handicap here. We've got a Lions side that I think they were pushed to the limit by the Bulls last week. They eventually, I think their class sort of saw them over the line. They're up against the Free State side that cost punters an absolute fortune. I think it's fair to say the only people who made money on that game, besides a bookmaker like Bet Exchange last week, were the punters who actually potentially took the plus 45.5 at WSB in the hope of getting a middle. They maybe got out with their shirts. Otherwise, people like me who never got their bets down, well, we were quite fortunate as well. But that was unbelievable performance. And I see it's 27.5 points now in Johannesburg. And the question is, are bookmakers reading too much into that Cheetahs performance? Or is this a decent Free State side that can push the Lions and stay within the handicap?
No, Brent. I think they're absolutely reading far too much into this game. I think, there's two sides to every game. And like I said, when I saw the Pumas Western Province, straight away I realised Pumas were rubbish. Western Province played a reasonable game. I think the Sharks were absolute, if anyone actually watched the second half there and had money on that game, you don't have any weapons in the house because anything can happen. But, yeah, I think that Sharks team has definitely irritated a lot of people. I think the Cheetahs took their chances. A couple of youngsters, they had a go, and why not? They had a bit of fun, and they came close. They nearly won the game in the end, and I think guys like Hendrick will probably agree with me and say that they probably should have won because the Sharks didn't deserve to win that game. In fact, I incorrectly pointed out on my video the other night, the Sharks actually got 5 points from that game, which is also ridiculous because that's the old rule of scoring 4 tries and getting a bonus point. It just shows you how important that 3-point bonus point is. Anyway, back to this game. I don't think the Lions are going to make the same mistake. I think the Cheetahs will be lucky to score sort of 10 or 15 points here. I think the Lions can certainly score 50, 60, 70 points. Henrik's right. This can be 80, can be 70, 10, can be 65, 15, can be anything like that. The Lions were favourites up until last week. Western Province beats the Pumas and beats a B team Cheetahs team, and suddenly they're 13-10 to win the tournament. I don't know how they jumped to that quickly. Last year we were getting 17-10 on the day on the final. That's crazy. But anyway, Lions minus for me, definitely. Anything under 40 is worth a minus play, and at current levels of 27 and 28, you can certainly jump on that.
Hein, what do you think? Lions on the minus?
Yeah, I think Andres Kutsia is the only guy that the Lions rest. I think there might be one more, but I can't remember now. But no, it's still a strong Lions team, and that's the difference to me is if you look at the Lions backline compared to the Bulls backline, for instance, it's quality, especially quality at Currie Cup level. I think I was a bit concerned with Reynolds. I think he's been playing decently. Dylan Smith at scrummy isn't bad. And then, they've got Howard Mnisi and Lionel Mapu. That's pretty much as good as you're going to get for centre pairing in Currie Cup rugby. Skorsan, Mahuza, I think Mahuza's been moved to fullback, and Tamwe on the wing. So, that's a dangerous backline, and we all know their forwards will always do the job. That's something you can know about the Lions. So now I got 26.5, and I was happy taking that. I think the Lions are going to, as I said last week, that was a fluke. I'd draw a line through that performance. Somewhere it's going to catch up to the Cheetahs. I haven't looked at them, at their players, but I presume it's almost like a Grey College first team of 2 years ago that's been pushed into the field. So they're probably not too bad as a unit, or they played under 19 rugby together or something like that. But against the big boys, they're going to come unstuck. And when they do come unstuck, things can go wrong quite quickly for them against the Lions side, who they can almost score from a kickoff straight away again. So, 26.5, I'm happy to take. And again, I think it's could again be a try fest. The Lions, they don't love defending, and I think running onto the park, they're going to be knowing, listen, we're going to score loads of tries. Yeah, I don't think they're going to not be focused, but I don't think defending is going to be paramount in their mind. So again, tries and points could be big on this one.
Yeah, I'm with you. A high-scoring game. I think the Lions are going to score plenty, and I'm with you guys on the minus. I think the Lions are absolutely going to blow them away. I love the look of this Lions backline. I'm almost tempted to fire up the old spread betting account and have a Lions shirts bet here, because I just think they got so much pace out wide. Well, over the years, I have been burnt with, because the Lions tend to score a lot of tries with tight forwards as well. But I think we're all united here on the Lions. And we don't want to push the show out too long, so let's get on to a bit of European rugby, guys. And we got the pro.
Sorry, I just want to say one more thing, Brent. I think I know from your comment last week, I think if the Lions are winning, if you've taken a minus, let's give a number to this example. You've taken minus 30.5. They're leading by 26 or 25, and they're near the try line, and Marvin Orrie gets the ball and kicks it out into Rosette. I think we don't want to see any of that.
That was a shocker.
Let's hope they look for try number 13 when they've scored 12 of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll still be moaning and complaining. Don't worry. The mistake, Marvin Orrie must be subbed after 60 minutes. No doubt about that. Guys,
listen, guys. The only thing on that one, a punt that I also like in a game like that, especially for the Lions, it's worked well. I don't know if we're going to get close to evens, was first scoring play, a Lions try. I quite like that with the Lions, because there's absolutely sweet, low bugger all chance they're going to kick for poles. So if you're confident they're going to score first, it's definitely going to be a try. So that's always a nice market to look out for.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Even money about the line scoring the first try is probably actually golden.
Yeah, if you can get it. That's Sean Nicholas is saying, of course, golden. I wonder if Sean will be climbing in on that as well. But gents, let's talk about a Pro 14. The Kings and the Cheetahs both very disappointing in their opening week's action last week, both getting beaten on the handicap. Starting off the first game, let's have a look at it. It's the Kings against the Dragons. I think they're away to the Dragons. Dragons 1-14. The Kings 7-1. Hein, the handicap here is 17.5 points. I think when I looked. What do you make of this one?
Yes, it's a difficult one for me. This Brent, I just had a little look at the game, mostly the extended highlights. So I know Gavin was quite impressed with the Kings. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be on the cap there. But for me, I'm not going to get involved in this one. I'll take another look for a week. But I've got actually four of the other games in the top 14 that I've got punts on. So I'm giving the Kings a skip here.
Okay, well, I'm going to get Gavin's opinion on this game, and then I'll get Gavin's opinion on the Cheetahs game, and then we'll run through your 4 punts quickly before we wrap things up. Gavin, Kings on the plus. I know last week you didn't get heavily involved. What did you make of them? I was quite impressed at times with a few of their backline players, but it's just hard to see them winning any games in Europe.
Well, Brent, if they're going to win a game, they're going to beat this team because Benetton beat them last week. This team came second last year. Kings absolutely murdered them in Port Elizabeth. They've got their number. Kings played so well last week. Yes, they lost the handicap, and I don't think I've ever come onto any sort of a video or banter in the office or whatever and said, that team lost, but they didn't lose. I felt like I walked away from that game thinking this was a great performance, and they lost in the dying seconds or dying minutes of the game. They were in that handicap the entire match. In fact, at periods of that game last week, they looked like they can win. And I honestly believe they have a small chance of winning this game this week. And I can't see this handicap being in doubt. I think they'll definitely finish within 18 or 17 or even 16. I'd like to tell people that at plus 14 they run as here. I like the Kings. I was very impressed. The Cheetahs, different story.
Yeah, they were disappointing. They went their second game in a row, if you count the Currie Cup game against Province, without scoring a point, both in wet conditions. But the fact is that Munster managed to put, 38 points on in the same conditions. So, Gavin, very disappointing that. I see they're playing the Ospreys now. Ospreys beat Edinburgh at home last week, which is not a bad performance. And Ospreys are 21.5 point favourites. Have the Cheetahs got enough to keep within this handicap, or are we looking at another big win?
Unfortunately, I didn't watch that game last week. I watched the highlights, but I'd really liked it. I've set it to record. So before the weekend, I'll have watched the whole 2-hour match. I don't like to have a bet on, especially a bigger bet on South African teams, if I haven't watched the game. And I honestly haven't watched that game properly. So I don't know what happened in that Cheetahs second half. I saw the halftime score. I don't know what happened. But, my suggestion to people at this point is if you're going to go have a bet on that game, have a small play on the minus. There's no evidence of anything that you can back Cheetahs plus at this point. Like you said, they haven't scored a point in 160 minutes of rugby across the 2 competitions. They've had a flight in between, probably another flight in between these 2 weeks. Something's wrong there. To lose 38-0, something's wrong. So I'd stay away from this game. But if you do want to have a go, take the Ospreys at minus. Yeah. Right,
Hein, let's bring you in now because you mentioned that you've got a few other bets in the Pro 14. So run us through those fancies of yours.
Yeah, just on the Cheetahs, I watched the first half, all of it pretty intently, and I think the Cheetahs were a bit unlucky there. They dominated for probably 20 to 30 minutes, and they just couldn't get over the try line. And being on the halftime plus handicap, it was pretty devastating for me there because I just thought they just needed any form of penalty, anything would have done there for the halftime cap.
And they must have.
Yeah, definitely. So it was a bit disappointing, and again, I think they're gonna put in a good effort for the first 40 minutes. So I wouldn't put people off taking the halftime cap there. I'll have a little one actually on the plus 11.5 halftime cap. But my bigger play would be on a second half minus if you could get it. So that's the one I'd take. Ospreys on a second half handicap of probably about 10, 11-ish. Right. But I wouldn't be off the Cheetahs on the first half cap because I also see it. I think the Cheetahs will run out of legs there in the second half. So that'll be my play for that one. Glasgow against Munster. I don't think Munster were that great. 38-0. It looks fantastic, but I don't think they were anything special. Glasgow should be better than them, and it's usually pretty close in those conditions. So I'll take the home team there to win by 1-12. I got that, I think, just about 15-10 with Sunbet. So I think that's a good one. And Scarlet against Leinster, similar thing. Leinster scraped through in the previous game there. But I think Scarlet's going to look to bounce back at home. And so I'll take Scarlet. I got World Sports betting with 5-6, while quite a few of the others were 6-10. So I'd actually take, even though it's not your normal odds, 5-6, I'd take on the Scarlets winning that game against Leinster. And then Benetton against Cardiff. Yeah, that's a bit of a tough one. I know Benetton won there away from home, but I'm actually backing Cardiff on this one for 1-7 to take a narrow victory there. I don't think the Blues are that bad, so then 1-7 at 18-10 with G-bets.
Right, thanks for that wrap of the Pro 14 there, Hein. Just to mention, I did have a message from Southpaw on the Good for the Game forum just before the show. I had asked him if he liked anything in Europe. He said he does like Exeter on the minus there at the Wasps, and I saw -1.5, 5-6 at Sunbet. So he does like that if you're looking up north. And I see Sean posting, of course, there's the Mitre 10 Cup. Hendrik saying a big game tomorrow morning, the last two unbeaten sides. And Sean reckons Auckland halftime, Tasman full-time. Not sure what price we'll get on that one, but possibly quite a good one. I'm sure Sean might post a price for us there. So plenty of other rugby besides what we've discussed. But let's wrap it up with our best, most solid bet of the weekend, unless there's anything that I've missed that you want to point out, Gavin.
Okay, so sorry. Sean Nicholas just posted that the Cheetahs were lucky to get 0. I think he's 100% right. It's a pity these teams don't get minus scores like we take minus punts and all of that. It'd be very nice if they could go home with a minus. Yeah, just on the Pro 14, there's two games I sort of targeted here. I've had a go at Benetton to win the game. They are 13-10 to beat Cardiff. I backed Cardiff last week against Leinster, and Leinster just got up. So, just on a bit of a maths theory here, I think Benetton are definitely worth a going home. And I was quite surprised they won the game away. So, yeah, those Italian teams winning away games, you've got to start looking at them when they play at home. That sort of struck out for me. And small play on Connaught against Zebre, and it's more about bad Zebre rather than good Connaught. I know Connaught aren't too bad at home against the Italian teams. I know they've lost them the ways. But, yeah, other than that, no, I don't get involved in this Mitre 10 Cup or English or French rugby. I try and stick to what I know. I do have the odd. I do watch the odd game in that, but yeah, nothing. Best bet for me, definitely Argentina on the plus. And if you've got a few coins lying around, stick it on the 18-1 at GG Gaming to win the game. If they do win, you won't be sorry. And if you lose, you don't even know what you've lost. It's so small at that price.
It certainly is a good price. Just to welcome Brad Breath, one of the Good for the Game forum posters and one of our specialists of the European rugby. He just makes a comment here, like the Scarlets too, but waiting the Leinster team, as they could be much stronger than last week. And I know quite a few of the teams were fielding weaker sides. So some good advice here, quite often to wait for the team news. So thanks for that one, Brad. Hein, wrap it up for us. What's your best bets?
Argentina halftime 13.5. I think that's a solid one to bank on this weekend. And then Sharks minus 17.5 at Sunbet. I'm sticking to those two. Those are where my big interests are this weekend.
Gavin, I know I'm not sure you gave us your best bets at the end. We went through a few European games. What's your strongest strike of the weekend?
Yeah, look, I'm in agreement with Hein. I think I'm talking about this Argentina plus 27.5, and if any plus above 23 actually for me is the best bet of the weekend. And I think he's also right. I think if you got a bit of money as well, have a go to Argentina to win the game, win the halftime, not just. Plus 13.5, but also plus 13.5 is great. Any plus for that team, they always play well in the first half. In fact, I can't remember a halftime score against Argentina being anything more than 13 anyway. I think I've probably won 10 out of 10 of the last times I played it. Yeah, look, I like Argentina. I'm actually missing my kid's soccer game on Saturday morning to watch this game. I'm all in here. He knows he's playing on his own. I'm not there. So, yeah, I'm definitely interested in this match.
I'll actually be at Ellis Park. My son's playing in a sevens rugby tournament, so I might catch the first game, but I'm probably going to miss the second. But I will at least be able to give a good conditions report on the Good for the Game forum for that one. Having a look at my best bets for the weekend, yeah, I'm quite strong on Australia. I do like the minus 5.5. I'll be taking advantage of the GG Gaming special there. And then as far as the Currie Cup goes, I'm leaning very heavily towards the Lions. I think they can put a Free State B or C or D or whatever they are away. Gents, thanks very much for joining me on the show. I just want to say our first edition of a rugby-only show, and thank goodness, because poor old Chris would still be waiting to talk soccer. If we were going to talk soccer, there was so much rugby to chat about this weekend.
Thank goodness we don't have to hear anything about Kaizer Chiefs this week.
No, I'm not going to tip you the Soweto Giants double this weekend. Oracle, good punting to you over the weekend. Look forward to locking horns with you. I'm going to get my GG Gaming competition account going, and I expect to build a healthy lead this weekend. And thanks very much. And thanks to all of the guys who watched the show live and commented in the comments column. It does give us something else to talk about. Really enjoyable
Brent,
as well.
If you put 3,000 Rand in now, you'll be in 4th place. You know that, right?
That's true. You'll be in 4th place. But I've got a feeling that there's a few punters holding back, Gavin? What do you think in that GG Gaming? And I think there's going to be a few guys coming with runs. So, yeah, I'll be moving into 4th place fairly shortly. Whether or not I'll be able to stay there, of course, is another question. But thanks very much. We look forward to seeing you on Saturday morning. We'll confirm the time, probably 8 o'clock in the morning, for a pre-betting chat on both matches. That's the New Zealand-Argentina game and the Australia-South Africa Rugby Championship game. You can subscribe to the video down below. And, of course, catch our other shows like GG Gaming Gone Mad. Thanks, everyone, and good punting.